You see, the remarkable thing about all of this is that you have awakened, and you can never quite return to the old arrangement. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot go back to believing that the inner rehearsal was a mysterious message from outside yourself. The awakened self begins to notice the seams of the fabric. It looks at these instructions and says, "Ah, this is the old creature in me speaking, the one who survived by guessing what every face meant before the face even spoke to me." And if you watch yourself carefully, you notice this. You'll be walking through the park quite harmlessly, perhaps with your bag of groceries, and suddenly your mind has begun a conversation with someone who was not there. You did not ask for it to begin, but there it goes, chattering away like a monkey that has stolen a typewriter. And you think to yourself, good heavens, why am I talking to the ghost if it's someone I met yesterday? Why am I preparing the lines of drama that has no stage? Now, now, this is where it becomes delightful because when you finally see it, when you see the rehearsal begin on its own, you also begin to see that this is simply your ancient organism doing what it has always done. It is no different from the way a bird will sing in the morning, not because it planned it, but because the sun has come up. Your mind is responding to stimuli that are so old, so deeply wired that they operate faster than your conscious mind can possibly intervene. And do you remember when you were a child and you walked into a room full of adults and you immediately sensed the mood before anyone said a word? You felt the weather of the room, the atmosphere, and your instinct told you something is off here or something is joyful here. You learned long before language that you were a barometer for other people. That is the same instinct that now lights up when you pass a stranger on a walking path or when a face appears on a screen. And this instinct has no idea it is no longer living in a tribe of 100 people. It does not know what screens exist. It does not know that the image of the person jogging past you is not a signal to begin rehearsing a mating ritual or a tribal defense. It only knows that it has sensed something that matters and it reacts accordingly. And this is why parasocial bonds feel so convincing. The instinct cannot distinguish between the storyteller at the campfire and the storyteller on the digital feed. It does not care that the person in the video does not know your name. It hears a human voice telling a story and it says, well, then, this must be someone in my village. And suddenly, the inner dialogue starts again. The conversation begins with someone who is not there. But then comes the turn, the awakening, the moment where the whole thing becomes almost funny. Because once you understand this, once you recognize that your inner world is now not malfunctioning, it's simply running an ancient program in a modern environment. Then a great deal of confusion dissolves for you. You stop mistaking the echo for the origin. You stop believing that the every inner voice is a summons. You realize that these currents move through everyone, and not because something is wrong, but because the entire human species is standing at the crossroads of deep time and high technology. And here is where we think of the waves on the shore. You walk along the beach, and the water reaches for your toes, and the waves withdraw. And they do not go away forever. They gather themselves and return. Thoughts are like that, instincts are like that. They roll in and they roll back, and you cannot command them to come or to go. But you can stop assuming that the ocean is plotting something against you. An incoming wave is not a prophecy, it is simply the tide doing what it does best. In the same way, your instincts roll in, attraction rolls in, anxiety rolls in, the rehearsal rolls in. But the moment you awaken to the fact that you're on the beach and not the wave, something loosens. You gain choice, you gain distance, you gain understanding. You see, the difficulty is not the instinct, it is the way modernity amplifies it, because the old instinct reaches toward the world, and modern technology offers it endless illusions to grasp. The mind sees a beautiful person on a screen, and the instinct leaps. It sees the stranger pass by, and the instinct leaps. Then another part of you, the awakened one, pulls back. It says, I do not want to connect like this. I refuse to be tugged around by this ancient machinery. I prefer the safety of my modern tools. So there you are, pulled between two worlds, the ancient longing for connection and the modern fear of entanglement. Technology becomes a place to hide in plain sight, a place where you can observe humanity without touching it, a place where you can receive the signals without risking the real encounter. But the awakening, it is the moment when you see the flaws in both systems. You see that ancient instinct wants more of these artificial connections. You see that technology offers convenience at the cost of intimacy. And you see quite clearly that neither one can tell you who you are. Awakening is not about choosing between instinct and technology. It is the realization that you are the awareness behind them both. You are the witness who sees the rehearsals begin. You are the one who sees the pull of the screen. You are the one who senses the loneliness beneath the noise. And once you see that, the whole structure becomes transparent. And you stop being hypnotized by it. You can choose where your attention goes. You can choose which instincts to honor. You can even choose to let go of the modern distractions that keep you half asleep. Because in the end, awakening is not a mystical revelation. It is simply the recognition that you are an ancient and a modern at the same time. You are the ocean and the wave. You are the instinct and the awareness. And when you finally see this, you can live more freely, more fully, more awake. Do you remember when you were very small and you were given the most extraordinary toy ever invented? It had no batteries, and yet it powered whole universes. It had no instructions, and yet you knew exactly how to use it. It was your imagination. With it, you could become a pirate or a queen. You could turn a stick into a sword or a wand or a fishing pole that brought up dreams instead of fish. You could hold entire conversations with the empty air, and the air always spoke back. Not because you were delusional, but because this imagination was the most intimate friend you had, the one that could become anything or anyone. And then, when that toy grows, it becomes stronger, more agile, more vivid, and what was once a game becomes an instinctive bridge between signal and possibility, a bridge so powerful that it can lift whole conversations inside your mind before a single word has been spoken outside of it. So when you walk through a park today and see a beautiful stranger moving toward you, something leaps. There is the spark of biology and the spark of story. In an instant, a small inner scene forms, a greeting, a moment, a possibility. And perhaps she glances your way, and perhaps she too has her own brief flicker, her own tiny internal sketch of the encounter. Just two human beings experiencing a private, harmless shimmer of recognition, a miniature dream that dissolves as quickly as it arrived. This is the mind's habit of animating possibility. It gives ancient signals their modern shape. It can sometimes overwhelm you. It can sometimes confuse you into thinking the rehearsal was mutual or ordained. But once you see the mechanism, you can laugh again. You can laugh all the way because now you understand that none of this means that you are confused or broken. You are simply human. We meet so many people who are reluctant to write their story because not because they lack words, but because they fear the reality that language confers. To write it is to be seen, and to be seen is to exist. But the deeper crisis is this: we are ancient organisms wrapped in modern circuitry, and we have an evolutionary body with a technological interface. We are running instincts meant for the savannah through the bandwidth of the cloud. And when you awaken to this, even for a moment, you see that most of your confusion is not moral failure. It is latency. It is the lag. The organism reacts and the conscious mind explains. The reaction afterwards. What once meant poison or safety now appears as notification or sensation of being overlooked. The organism leaps and it pulls the mind with it. The difficulty is not the instinct. The difficulty is believing the instinct is a prophecy. You feel something and you assume the feeling is the world speaking to you. But the awakened one inside says, I do not want to connect like this. I refuse to be tugged around by ancient machinery. I will not mistake every passing sensation for a cosmic telegram. But that imagination was never a toy. It was a training muscle. It became the projector through which instinct and story cooperate. It became the theater where ancient impulses rehearse modern scenes. And when you know this, you regain agency. You bow to the instinct without obeying it. You appreciate someone without building a cathedral of fantasy around the moment. This is sovereignty. This is agency, not the suppression of instinct, but the friendship with it, not the rejection of imagination, but the recognition of its role. So you walk through life awake to the currents. You see the ancient machinery. You feel the modern signals. You watch the rehearsals begin without believing they mean more than they do. And in that clarity, you live with more grace. You live more freely, more fully, more awake.